Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping on our virtual construction helmets.
I like that.
Yeah, and we're diving headfirst into the world of website creation. Specifically, we're looking at how modern learning materials, the kind designed for really rapid professional coaching, have integrated these cutting-edge AI tools.
Right.
And these tools, they basically allow you, the curious learner, to become a pretty effective designer and builder almost overnight.
Our mission today is it's very focused
Yeah.
and deeply practical. We're taking a deep dive into a coaching blueprint for web development, zeroing in on those foundational design concepts, and of course, user experience or UX.
The famous UX.
We're here to give you the exact principles that professional designers live by, and crucially, we're going to connect those sometimes abstract concepts immediately to free, accessible AI tools.
That's the key part, the immediate connection.
It is.
Yeah.
This lets you bypass that traditionally steep learning curve.
Yeah.
You can move from a totally blank page to a functional, aesthetically pleasing website mockup in, well, potentially in minutes, not months.
Exactly. Our goal for you is immersion and immediate application. You shouldn't just leave this deep dive knowing what good design is. You have to know how to generate it. Using tools like Figma AI and Framer, we're providing the conceptual framework and the exact digital shortcut you need to acquire professional design skills without needing a degree in graphic arts.
And to really anchor our discussion, let's start with the central thesis from our source material.
Okay.
It's this. Design is not decoration. It's how your idea says welcome. We are moving past the superficial notion of just making things look pretty.
Right.
We're focusing intensely on functionality, on clarity, and on that crucial act of actually connecting with your audience.
That quote is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
It immediately reframes design from being the subjective art form into a functional mechanism.
It does.
It positions the website not as a digital billboard, but as an active participant in an exchange. The source material calls it a conversation.
Precisely. And if you accept that view, that your website is a conversation between you, the creator, and the visitor, then the quality the design is, well, it's the lubricant for that exchange.
The lubricant, I like that. So good design makes it smooth.
Good design makes the interaction friendly, effortless, and highly intuitive. But if the visitor feels instantly confused, if they can't find the key message, or they're struggling to find the next step button,
Yeah.
the source material calls that a failure of design. It's like shouting in the wrong language.
So if the conversation is successful, the user gets what they need without really thinking about it. But if it fails, they feel that friction and they're gone.
They're gone.
Okay, so if it's a conversation, we need structure. What does this conversation look like structurally? How do we make sure we're speaking the right language? And maybe more importantly, how do we guide the user through that dialogue?
So the structural conversation happens in what the material calls conceptual layers.
Yeah.
It breaks design down into 3 distinct layers, and they all have to work in harmony to build that final experience.
3 layers. Okay.
And we can understand this best by using a visual analogy. Think about designing a physical room, a space where you'd invite someone for a discussion.
Okay, I can picture that. Let's explore those layers using that room analogy.
All right. The deepest, most foundational layer is the layout.
The layout, the floor plan.
Exactly. This layer dictates the initial experience. It answers the question, where should I look first? In the physical room, the layout is the map. It's where you put all the furniture and structural elements.
So is the seating arranged for a casual chat or, I don't know, a formal presentation? Does the main focal point, like a fireplace or a TV, does it grab your eye instantly?
That's it. And that structural element is so often forgotten. People jump straight to colors.
Yeah.
But it's about the boxes and their relationship to one another.
Right.
Getting the boxes in the right places, the prominent header, the clearly defined main content area, the strategically placed call to action, that's the blueprint. If this fails, the conversation is chaotic from the very first second.
And the user doesn't know where to look. They're just overwhelmed.
Absolutely. If the layout is poor, the user doesn't know where to direct their attention, and that creates cognitive overload immediately. They're just lost in the room.
Okay, so once the structure is solid, what's layer 2?
Once the structure is solid, we move to the second layer, color and style.
This is where the mood is set.
This is the mood. This layer answers the question, how should I feel here? In our room analogy, this is the paint, the textures, the lighting.
So it doesn't change what the furniture is for. A chair is still a chair.
A chair is still a chair, but it drastically alters the emotional atmosphere. A room with bright, institutional white walls and fluorescent lighting. That gives a vastly different mood than one with warm, deep colors and soft, targeted lighting.
A huge difference.
The emotional conversation changes instantly, even if the layout, the furniture placement, stays exactly the same.
So the layout is pure function, the science of organization. And the color and style, that injects the necessary emotion. The art of persuasion, maybe?
You could say that.
But like you said, neither of those matter if the visitor can't actually do what they came for.
Which leads to the most important layer, usability.
The top layer.
A third and highest layer is usability, which is the practical embodiment of the user experience, the UX. This answers the ultimate question: can I do what I came to do?
And the analogy for this one?
The visual analogy here is perfect.
Okay.
These are the doors that open easily.
Okay.
You can have the most strategically laid out room, beautifully decorated. But if the doors are stuck or hidden or labeled exit when they actually mean entrance,
The whole thing fails.
the entire mission fails. Usability is the measure of zero friction interaction. It's the successful completion of the user's task.
So it sounds like this is a progression. You can't have true usability if the layout is a mess.
Impossible.
Or if the colors are so jarring that they're distracting.
Exactly. The success of the usability layer is entirely predicated on the thoughtful execution of the first two. And recognizing this progression allows us to make that fundamental distinction in modern design.
UI versus UX.
UI versus UX.
The industry, I feel like, uses these two terms interchangeably all the time, but our source material is really clear that they're different moments in the user's journey. So what's the crucial difference we need to internalize?
Okay, so UI stands for user interface. Think of the word interface. It's the point of contact.
The thing you touch.
The thing you see and the thing you physically interact with.
Yeah.
It's all the visual elements. The shape of the buttons, the specific hex codes of the colors, the choice of icons, the font weights. It's tangible. It's visual.
Okay, that's UI. So the UX, the user experience, that's the result of all those UI choices.
Yes. The intangible result. UX is what you feel. It's the ease, the comfort, the flow, or, on the other side, the confusion and the frustration. If UI is the physical steering wheel and the dashboard in a car,
Right.
UX is the feeling you get when the car handles beautifully, the controls are intuitive, and the journey is just relaxing.
That makes perfect sense. But if UX is just a feeling, how do we measure it? I mean, how do we know if our users are feeling comfortable when they're on our site?
That is the ultimate investigative question in all of UX research. And the answer is, we measure the feeling by measuring the behavior.
Okay, so you look for clues in what they do.
Exactly. Objective metrics. Things like time on task. How long did it take the user to complete the sign-up form? Error rate. How often did they click the wrong button? And success rate, did they actually achieve their goal? Like, did they buy the product?
So low time, low errors, high success. That's the proof.
That is tangible evidence that the user felt comfortable and the flow was effortless. When the UI and UX align, when the visual choices, the UI, facilitate that effortless success, the UX, that's when you earn that coveted compliment. This site just feels right.
And that's what we're aiming for. Not subjective beauty, but objectively measurable pleasure and effectiveness. Okay, this foundational understanding is like, it's the grammar of design. Before we bring in the AI to do the heavy lifting, we need to understand these absolute rules of thumb.
Absolutely. The AI is only as good as the conceptual framework we give it.
Right.
If we don't apply these 5 fundamental principles, the AI will generate something that looks nice, but is ultimately a dysfunctional structure. These principles are the non-negotiables that govern a successful design conversation.
Okay, let's get into them. Principle number 1, clarity over complexity.
This is the designer's constant mantra. The core advice is so simple. If the designer is confused about the purpose of an element, the user will be 10 times more so.
10 times.
The source material really emphasizes simplifying the entire visual field. In digital terms, complexity equals friction, and friction is cognitive load.
Cognitive load, that's the mental energy you have to spend just to figure things out, right?
Precisely. Every extra menu item, every unnecessary line of text, every purely decorative image you add, it increases that cognitive load.
So you have to be ruthless.
You have to ask, does this element help the user achieve their goal? If the answer is no, it's just noise. Get rid of it. Simplicity, reducing the visual choices, and minimizing friction is the most direct path to clarity. Highly functional sites, like Google's search page.
The ultimate example.
It's a paragon of clarity through extreme simplicity.
Okay, moving on to principle 2, consistency. This seems easy, but it's where so many amateur sites just fall apart. Where do the subtle failures in consistency usually show up?
Consistency is vital because it builds trust and familiarity. The failures are often in the subtle micro-interactions, not just the big obvious things like changing your main brand color.
So what's a micro-interaction failure?
It's when the buttons are rounded rectangles on one page but sharp squares on the next. Or it's when the spacing between a headline and the body text is, say, 30 pixels on the home page, but only 10 pixels on the blog page.
I see. Tiny little things that just feel off.
They create these momentary flickers of uncertainty for the user. Consistency ensures the conversation maintains the same voice, the same appearance, and the same reliability throughout the entire journey. And that reinforces your brand's authority.
Okay, the third principle is a really practical one that directly affects readability: contrast.
This is a visibility rule, and it's inseparable from focus and accessibility.
Yeah.
The basic rule is simple: dark text on a light background. But to give this some professional depth, we need to talk specifics.
Go on.
Professional designers rely on accessibility standards, specifically something called WCAG 2.1. That stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines.
WCAG 2.1.
And for standard text, the rule is that the minimum contrast ratio should be 4.5 to 1.
So light gray text on a white background isn't just a poor choice. It's actively failing an objective professional standard.
Exactly. Low contrast forces the user to strain, and that instantly creates friction. If you're trying to convey crucial information, the words, they have to be unmistakable.
So contrast isn't just about color then.
No, it's also size. A giant headline contrasting with tiny, unreadable body text is a contrast failure in scale. Contrast ensures the conversation is audible.
Audible, I like that. Principle 4 is often the hardest one for beginners to master. Spacing, or white space. The temptation is always to fill every available inch of the screen.
That temptation comes from the belief that empty space is wasted space. It is absolutely not.
Right.
White space, it's often called negative space, is a deliberate design element. It's like a necessary pause in a conversation. It lets ideas sink in and it prevents visual overwhelm.
So if I surround a button with a lot of white space, what am I actually achieving structurally?
You're leveraging a Gestalt principle called proximity.
Proximity.
It dictates that elements that are close together are perceived as belonging together. By surrounding a core element like a sign-up form with generous white space, you isolate it. You get weight. You draw the eye instantly to it. Spacing directs focus and manages the pace of the visual conversation.
So if you look at luxury brand websites,
They always use white space liberally. It conveys sophistication and focus.
and finally, principle 5, hierarchy.
Hierarchy is the structural conversation itself. It's the flow. It means organizing information so that the big, important things appear first, systematically guiding the user's eye.
And this is where we get into how people actually read on screens.
Exactly. We have to discuss user scanning patterns. Most Western readers scan digital content in what's called an F pattern.
An F pattern.
Yeah, they start at the top, scan left to right across the first line, then they drop down slightly and scan left again, but a shorter distance. It forms a rough F shape.
Okay.
Or for more sparse layouts, they use a Z pattern. Top left to top right, then diagonally down to the bottom left and across to the bottom right.
So the hierarchy, the layout, it has to respect how the human eye naturally moves across the page?
Absolutely. You use size, color, and placement to signal what's important. The most important text is your H1 heading. That should be the biggest. Secondary points use H2 and H3 headings. And the body text is the smallest. This visual hierarchy directly correlates with the information hierarchy. It ensures the user consumes the message in the order you intended.
These 5 principles, clarity, consistency, contrast, spacing, and hierarchy, they really are the professional baseline. If you nail these, you're already, 80% of the way there?
At least. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by it all, the source material offers that ultimate design hack, the coach's tip.
I like the sound of that.
It's deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful.
Let's hear it.
When in doubt, remove something.
Why is that the ultimate hack, and why is it so hard for people to actually do?
It's hard because of ego and the fear of missing out. Designers often feel the need to show off all their tools or include every single piece of content the client gave them.
Right. We have to use all of it.
But removing an element forces you to justify the existence of everything that remains. Removing text forces you to write clearer, punchier headlines. That's clarity. Removing decorative lines improves spacing. Removing secondary navigation options improves hierarchy.
It's the ultimate antidote to complexity.
It's a universal way to restore focus. If your site feels cluttered, the first thought should never be, how can I change the color? It should be, what can I delete?
Okay, now that we had the grammar of design, internalized clarity, consistency, contrast, spacing, hierarchy, now we can bring in the assistant.
The AI assistant.
Right. And the concept here is that AI acts as an accelerator. It doesn't replace that initial creative spark, right?
Not at all. It takes our text descriptions and converts them instantly into structured visual ideas. It gives us critical momentum.
It gets you off the blank page.
This is the core shift. We are replacing the manual labor of sketching and arranging boxes with prompt engineering. Our pipeline now is sketch, defining the need.
The idea in your head.
Right. Then a prompt, defining the structure in words. Then the AI layout, generating that initial blueprint. And then finally, the preview, where you, the human, come in for critical refinement.
So the human is the director, not the drafter.
Exactly.
Let's break down the toolkit for this. And we're focusing exclusively on tools with accessible, functional, free tiers, so this is a zero-cost transition for anyone listening.
Okay, first the foundation. Figma plus AI. Figma is the industry standard for collaborative design.
Everyone uses it.
Pretty much.
Huh.
And its AI integration is just incredible because it allows for rapid manipulation of that layout layer we talked about. The core function is converting a structural prompt directly into a wireframe.
You can even edit it with text commands, right?
That's the amazing part. You can just type, make the header taller or change this to a 3-column layout.
So what's the difference between a good prompt and a bad prompt for Figma AI when you're generating one of these wireframes?
A bad prompt is vague. Something like, make me a nice home page. Totally useless. A good prompt is highly descriptive and focused on structure and function. For example, create a 2-column layout wireframe for a B2B SaaS sign-up page. Feature a centered hero image, 3 horizontally stacked testimonial cards, and a footer with 4 links. Prioritize mobile responsiveness.
Wow. So you're defining the containers, the hierarchy, the constraints, all those principles we just covered?
You're giving it the rules, and that guarantees the AI understands the purpose of the page.
Okay, next tool. Uizard.
Uizard is brilliant for rapid prototyping. It takes a really unique approach. It can transform a low-fidelity input, either a detailed text prompt or even a photograph of a hand sketch.
A photo of a napkin sketch.
Literally a photo of a napkin sketch. It turns it into an interactive prototype. So if you're a visual thinker who likes to quickly doodle ideas, Uizard bridges that gap between the doodle and something you can actually click through.
So Uizard sounds perfect for testing the flow, the UX, before you commit to the final look and feel.
Exactly. It forces you to test if the doors open easily early on. Then we have Framer AI.
Framer AI feels like the power tool. It's all about speed of deployment.
Framer is highly ambitious. It can build complete, functional, ready-to-host pages from a single, descriptive sentence.
Single sentence.
It's pretty wild. While Figma gives you the blueprint, Framer aims to jump you straight to the polished, published product. It's invaluable for rapid experimentation, letting you quickly see that color and style layer applied and testing it live across different devices.
And finally, a really accessible tool for refinement. Canva Magic Design.
Right. Canva Magic Design focuses less on the big site structure and more on generating high-quality individual graphics, unique image arrangements, and specific section layouts automatically.
So if your Sigma wireframe is solid, but you need, say, a really compelling pricing table,
or a polished Meet the Team section, Canva can quickly fill those content and aesthetic gaps for you.
So the combination gives us everything. Figma for structure, Uizard for usability testing, Framer for instant deployment, and Canva for polished elements. But the starting point for all of them is still the same thing.
The wireframe. And we have to pause here because the wireframe is the digital blueprint. It's just a black and white sketch or a skeleton plan. It's that foundational layout layer, but stripped of all color, all images, all marketing copy.
So it's just simple rectangles labeled header, image, text, button.
That's it.
Why is it so crucial to strip away the color and the copy at the start? Why not just jump in and start designing the finished product?
Because colors and typography are distracting. They're emotional. If you start choosing the perfect shade of blue, you lose focus on the core mission, which is hierarchy and spacing.
The functional part.
A wireframe forces you to focus purely on that functional conversation. Is the most important element at the top? Is there enough spacing? Is the flow logical? If the wireframe doesn't work in black and white boxes, no amount of gorgeous photography is going to save that page.
And the practical application is just using the AI to generate the skeleton for us.
The key is that detailed prompt again. Instead of manually dragging and resizing boxes for an hour, you give a tool like Figma AI the prompt. Create a wireframe for a real estate listing page. Must include a prominent photo gallery, property details in a 2-column grid, and a large schedule viewing button.
And the AI just arranges it.
Instantly. It arranges those components according to established principles of clarity and hierarchy.
You're completely skipping the tedious drafting stage. You jump straight to the high-value activity of directing and refining the AI's output. That momentum, that's priceless.
And this robust arrangement, this skeleton, is the foundation where we can now confidently apply the unique content and style that will define your brand.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. We have the skeleton, that solid wireframe. Now we have to make it speak. This is the color and style layer.
Of voice.
Yeah. If the wireframe is the grammar, then color and font are the tone of voice.
Absolutely. And we have to leverage color psychology, which is using visual cues to influence the user's subconscious emotion. Colors whisper emotions before any words even appear. They set the stage for the entire conversation.
Let's dive into the specifics from the source material, the emotional resonance of colors, and their optimal use cases. Let's start with blue.
Blue is the quintessential color of trust, professionalism, and stability. It's calming, it's non-threatening. Because of these inherent qualities, it's the optimal choice for industries where security and reliability are paramount.
Like finance, insurance.
Finance, insurance, education. When a user sees blue on a site, their nervous system registers safety and confidence before they even process the logo.
Okay, next up, green.
Green conveys growth, renewal, and peace. So naturally, its applications are in nature, sustainability, health sectors. It suggests vitality and prosperity.
It has cultural significance, too.
It does. Used heavily in Islamic themes to represent paradise and abundance. Green is very effective for any call to action related to start or increase.
Okay, and a very high-stakes color. Gold.
Gold is synonymous with prestige, success, and quality. It's a color of luxury, of excellence. But crucially, gold should almost never be a primary brand color.
It has to be an accent.
It must be an accent.
Yeah.
It's used strategically for elements that need to convey premium status, certificates, achievement badges, or maybe highlighting the most successful tier of a pricing plan. Overuse it, and you cheapen the effect.
For energy and urgency, we've got to look to red.
Red is the color of energy, action, and alert. The human eye is instantly drawn to it, so it's best reserved for functional elements that demand immediate attention.
So call to action buttons.
Call to action buttons like buy now or submit, urgent alerts, error messages. If you use too much red, you create visual anxiety, but using it purposefully forces the conversation forward at those critical moments.
And finally, purple.
Purple speaks to creativity, imagination, and luxury. Historically, it was associated with royalty and rarity, so it implies sophistication and uniqueness. It's an excellent choice for portfolios, art sites, high-end fashion, any brand that needs to emphasize imagination over traditionalism.
This detailed breakdown is so useful because you can feed these exact intentions into Framer AI or Uizard. But once we know the emotional palette we want, how do we structure it? This brings us to the coach's ultimate practical advice on color.
The 3-color rule. This is the simplest way to ensure clarity and consistency.
Just 3.
Just 3. Choose 2 main colors, one primary, often for backgrounds and major elements, and one secondary for headers and key sections, and then one accent color.
And the accent color is 4.
It should generally be a high contrast color, often that red or gold, and it's reserved exclusively for your call to action buttons. This framework is enough for 90% of professional projects, and it completely eliminates the risk of visual noise.
Beyond color, the other huge part of the voice is typography. Fonts are literally how your website speaks.
And the choice of font family carries immediate psychological weight. We need to categorize the 3 main styles and talk about their tone.
Let's start with sans serif fonts, things like Open Sans or Lotto.
Right. Sans serif means without serifs. They lack those little finishing strokes, the feet on the letters. Because of their clean, minimal lines, they convey a modern, efficient, and clean feel.
And they're everywhere online.
They dominate the digital landscape because they're extremely legible on screens. They're suitable for almost any contemporary or tech-focused brand that's trying to establish a quick, approachable presence.
And then their classical counterpart, serif fonts, like Garamond or Georgia.
Serif fonts. With their established classical aesthetic, they convey a formal, trustworthy, and traditional feel. They evoke institutions, academia, long-form readability.
So news sites.
News sites or brands emphasizing heritage and established authority, they give the website a sense of historical gravitas.
Okay, what about the nuances beyond just the font family? If a site uses two fonts, one serif for headlines, one sans serif for body text, how do designers make sure they look professional together?
This is where we get into the details. Things like line height, weight, and tracking. Professional harmony isn't just about choosing two faces, it's making sure their weight and scale complement each other.
For example,
For example, setting your body text, the sans serif with ample line height ensures it's easy to read, even if your primary heading, the serif, is bold and condensed. The fonts have to be able to hold a conversation without one just overpowering the other.
and the third category, the ones that carry the biggest risk of messing up clarity.
Display fonts. These are the highly stylized decorative fonts you see in logos or specific marketing graphics.
Right.
And the crucial rule here is extreme moderation. They're fantastic for personality, but if you use them for anything other than a huge primary heading or a single short quote, you immediately introduce friction and you compromise the clarity of your core message.
And the ultimate rule of thumb for typography, it echoes that consistency principle again, doesn't it?
It does. Never use more than two fonts on one website. One for the body, often sans serif for readability, and one for headings to convey personality or authority. Simplicity, structure, and consistency.
Yeah.
They win every time. So we've successfully moved from philosophy, the conversation, to structure with wireframes, to aesthetic voice with color and font. But a truly great site isn't just beautiful, it has to be functional for everyone.
Right.
The conversation has to be inclusive, which means we had to do a deep dive into accessibility.
Designing for everyone. This is where professional responsibility really meets practical design. We talked about strong contrast earlier, but what else has to be included to meet that accessibility standard?
We have to ensure a positive experience for users who navigate differently. The source material outlines 4 critical points. First, we have to revisit strong text contrast and reinforce that WK 4.5 to 1 ratio requirement. It's not optional. It's the baseline for functional readability.
Okay. Second point, the issue of mobile interaction. Buttons large enough to tap on phones.
This is so often overlooked in desktop design. On mobile, if your buttons are too small or clustered too close together, the user, especially someone with motor control issues or frankly just someone using the site while they're walking,
Yeah, that's everywhere.
they'll experience constant misclicks, and that's frustrating. It leads to an immediate high error rate. The recommended minimum target size is usually around 44 by 44 pixels. Good accessibility means you design with the finger, not the tiny cursor, in mind.
Third, every content-bearing image has to have alternative text or alt tags.
This is crucial. Screen readers, which are used by visually impaired users, describe images. So if you have an image of a complex graph showing 3 years of sales growth, the alt tag can't just say chart.
Right. It has to explain it.
It needs to summarize the data. Chart showing sales growth of 20% in 2023, 15% in 2024, and projected 10% in 2025. Without good alt tags, a massive portion of your site's conversation is completely silent to certain users.
And finally, making sure pages work properly with keyboard navigation.
This is essential for users who can't use a mouse. They rely on the tab key to move sequentially through clickable links, forms, and buttons. Your HTML structure has to be logical, and your design has to clearly indicate which element currently has focus.
Usually that blue or high contrast border you see.
Exactly. If your site breaks that logical flow, it becomes utterly unusable for keyboard navigators.
The coach's insight here is powerful. When design is accessible, it is automatically beautiful. How does focusing on accessibility actually lead to a better design for all users?
Because accessibility acts as a high contrast mirror. It forces you to comply with clarity, with contrast, with logical hierarchy. If you have good contrast and large buttons, the site is better for someone viewing it on a bright, sunny screen outside.
True.
If you have clear keyboard focus, the structure is fundamentally cleaner. Accessibility isn't a burden. It's a discipline that improves the experience for the entire audience.
So we've covered all the theoretical and technical grounds. Let's put it into that promised action plan. Walk us through the recommended AI-driven workflow example, that step-by-step collaboration, emphasizing how you move between the different free tools.
Okay, this 5-step workflow is the practical application of everything we've discussed. It moves you from zero to a live concept very, very quickly.
Step 1. Describe the idea and define the purpose.
You start with a detailed, high-purpose prompt in ChatGPT. Let's use the example. Homepage for a specialized digital future school focusing on ethical AI development. Define the key sections needed and suggest 3 core messages emphasizing trust and innovation.
So you're establishing the tone trust, so probably blue, and the necessary structural components right from the start.
Exactly. Step 2. Structure the site using AI. You take those suggested sections and the tone, and you ask Figma AI to generate the wireframe.
With the structural prompt.
A very structural prompt. Generate a wireframe for a responsive educational homepage with a prominent hero section, a 3-card layout for course features, a testimonial slider, and a contact form. Figma gives you that solid black and white layout layer, prioritizing hierarchy and spacing.
Okay, step 3. Add the voice and style.
You export that wireframe structure and open Uizard to apply colors and fonts. Since the theme is ethical AI and trust, you might apply blue as the primary color, with maybe a purple accent for the innovation courses.
Sticking to the 2-font rule.
Strictly. Maybe a clean sans serif like Lotto for body text, and a slightly heavier serif like Garamond for titles to convey authority.
Step 4. See it live and test how it responds.
The prototype is then exported to Figma AI to see it live at a browser. This is the crucial moment for testing the usability layer. Did the layout shift correctly on a phone? Do the buttons look and feel tappable? This step lets you rapidly test the aesthetic and the functionality at the same time.
And finally, step 5. Content refinement and iteration.
You load the initial draft of the text back into ChatGPT, and you ask for suggestions. Maybe you ask it to suggest clearer, lower cognitive load button labels for the pricing page. This optimizes the conversation. It ensures clarity. The result is a fully functional, highly personalized homepage blueprint structured in under an hour.
That speed, driven by that structured workflow, is just astounding. But it does bring up the necessary discussion on design ethics and originality. If AI is generating the structure and providing the initial look, how do we stop our work from looking like everything else the AI has ever generated?
That's the critical ethical pivot point. AI tools are inherently derivative. They synthesize massive data sets of existing designs. The source is very clear that uniqueness and personality are the designer's job.
So what are the necessary guidelines to maintain that originality and ownership?
First, you have to edit and personalize AI-generated images and assets to match your brand. Don't use the default stock imagery. Replace them with unique assets that embody your specific mission. Second, and this is maybe the most important part, avoid copying layouts exactly as they are.
Treat it like a suggestion.
A highly sophisticated suggestion. Move elements around, change the flow of those 3 cards to 2, alter the whitespace patterns, inject your own personality into the structure itself.
So it's about not letting the tool make all the creative decisions for you.
Exactly. And the coach's tip gives us the perfect metaphor for ownership here.
What is it?
AI gives you the seed, you grow the garden.
I love that.
The AI provides the potential, but the final, unique, successful form of that garden is entirely your responsibility. It has to reflect your vision.
And once we have that unique garden, we have to make sure it's functional through testing. Testing your work is non-negotiable. And we're specifically testing the feeling of the UX.
The beauty of testing is its simplicity. The recommended method is to ask 3 people, not designers, just average users, to use the prototype.
Yeah.
And you just observe their hesitation.
So you're not interested in their opinions on the color blue?
Not at all. You're observing where they pause, where they squint, or where they scroll unnecessarily.
And what's the critical diagnostic question we're looking for an answer to from their behavior?
If they stop and they ask you, what do I click next? That specific spot needs immediate improvement.
That's the signal.
Hesitation is the measurable sign of friction. It means the conversation broke down, the layout failed, the button wasn't obvious enough, or the label was just unclear.
And even at this feedback stage, we can use the AI again.
This is the meta application of the AI. You gather all the user comments, the points of confusion, the frustrations, and you upload them into ChatGPT.
And you ask it what?
You ask it to summarize the 3 main user confusions and suggest specific fixes based on the principles of hierarchy and contrast. The AI helps you diagnose the usability issues it helped create. It makes the feedback loop instantaneous and structured.
That brings us perfectly to the illustration of this entire process, from prompt to profit, the mini story of Ollie's success. Let's expand this into a proper case study, showing how all these principles and tools came together.
Okay, so Ollie, a 14-year-old in Lahore, wanted to build a simple professional web page for his family's traditional food cafe. He had 0 coding or design background, just access to these free AI tools. And his goal was crystal clear: drive online orders.
So he immediately applied that principle of clarity, focusing his prompt on the goal and the desired mood.
His exact prompt to Figma AI was, create a homepage for a traditional food cafe with warm colors and a very prominent online order button.
Simple.
Notice the structure: function, online order button, and aesthetic voice. Warm colors. He didn't say make a nice website. He defined the purpose.
And the AI instantly responded by aligning the color psychology with his prompt.
The AI, drawing on the psychology of action and prestige, produced a layout featuring a strong use of gold and red. Gold for that traditional high-quality feel, and red for the action-oriented Order Now buttons. It instantly fulfilled the need for a prominent call to action, and the wireframe structure it provided respected hierarchy, putting the key info menu Hours order button above the fold.
But the crucial refinement, the part that made it his, came when Ali injected his personality and his attention to detail.
Right. He looked at the layout and the default sans serif font the AI provided, and he realized the voice wasn't quite traditional enough.
It felt too modern.
Exactly. So he applied his newfound knowledge, and he swapped the main heading font to Garamond, a classic serif font. Garamond immediately injected that sense of formality, history, and trustworthiness. It aligned the website's voice perfectly with the concept of a long-established traditional family recipe. He also replaced the AI's placeholder images with photos of his grandfather actually cooking.
Addressing that ethical need for unique visual assets.
He did. And that subtle shift from a generic modern aesthetic to a trustworthy traditional aesthetic based on a deliberate font choice, it made all the difference.
That's the point where the garden started to grow into something unique.
It was. And the outcome was measurable. That week, his family received 10 new online orders, a direct consequence of a functional, aesthetically aligned, and trustworthy design crafted by a teenager and AI in collaboration. This proves that mastery is no longer a prerequisite for effective professional design. Principles plus tools equals impact.
Wow. This deep dive has been a massive accelerator. We've moved from the philosophy of design as a functional conversation all the way to a 5-step AI-powered workflow that can produce a fully realized, testable website blueprint in a fraction of the traditional time.
Let's just summarize the 5 core concepts that you should internalize and apply immediately. First, remember, UI, user interface, is strictly the visual look, while UX, user experience, is that effortless feeling that results from good UI choices.
Second, the wireframe. It's your essential skeleton plan, that black and white digital blueprint that forces you to focus on hierarchy and spacing before the distraction of color sets in.
Third, master color psychology. Understand that blue equals trust, red equals action, and limit your palette with that crucial 2+1 color rule for consistency and clarity.
Fourth, internalize the 5 core principles, especially clarity, contrast, remember that WCAG 4.5:1 ratio, and the directive to prioritize simplicity and spacing.
And finally, the essential AI design tools you can access for free right now. Figma AI for structural wireframes, Uizard for sketching and rapid prototyping, Framer for instant live pages, and Canva Magic Design for those polished, detailed elements.
This entire approach, it centers on empowering you, the learner, to act immediately. The most important lesson seems to be that you don't need to wait for full mastery. You can leverage these tools to learn by doing.
And that leads us to the final provocative thought, the ultimate coach's insight for you to consider as you close this deep dive.
Okay, let's hear it.
Don't wait to be a designer to start designing. Start designing. That's how you become one. The tools and the necessary professional knowledge are available right now. The only thing standing between you and a great design is that first prompt.
So get started.
Get started. And don't be afraid to remove something.
A fantastic challenge and incredible insight. Thank you for guiding us through this blueprint.